Are we going back on air?
We are back live.
All right, so once again, if there's a motion to reconvene.
I'll move, we
okay,
reconvene.
So trustee Wolf is moved to reconvene.
And I'll second, yeah.
Okay, should we do a roll call? Or should we
No
just-
voice vote is
Okay.
sufficient.
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Are there any opposed?
Opposed.
Okay, so note for the record that trustee Kurtzman was opposed. Okay, sir, under our rules, you have 3 minutes to address the board.
Okay, thank you very much, and I apologize for not knowing the exact rules here. I also don't know how to hook up the computer, but unless I could run it.
Would you introduce yourself to the board?
So my name is Herb Engelhard,
Uh-huh.
and I'm a longtime Wilmette resident, lived in, I think, 6 different houses, and currently live at 2431 Pomona Lane.
Mhm.
And we have a short proposal for the board. And if the computer doesn't work, I do have handouts.
Okay, sir, this is 3 minutes for public comment, too. So I might grant you a little bit of latitude, but.
Why don't we pass them out so you can start your comment? I'll take care of it. Thank you.
And the issue, well, this is a proposal to the Village Board of Wilmette, and it's entitled Storm Sewer Reservoir Placement with Preservation of Heirloom Trees, and this relates to the community playfield, and it's submitted by the Pomona Lane neighbors today, April 9th. And as you can see, the second page, the problem. Stormwater relief is certainly very urgently needed by the residents of Wilmette. Various plans have been proposed over 5 years. I will go through this quickly to try to keep with the 3-minute time limit.
And my suggestion, which I won't penalize you for the time that I'm talking, this is a matter that's currently being worked on by the Park District and by everyone else, so.
And I talked to the Park District last night.
Okay, all right.
Okay.
So just, there won't be an answer for you tonight.
That's
Okay.
fine. I want to raise the question tonight and make the board aware that the residents have only recently been informed and are concerned. And for instance, the specific details of the current positioning of the tank were just released to us on 4/3/19. And information about the current proposal was just posted to the village website on 4/8/19. And in the next page of your handout, we have the existing conditions with a 10-year storm, and we see that there is considerable flooding and action needs to be taken. The next page shows the current community playfield reservoir plan. And as you can see, the large tank in the middle there is the approximately 2-acre surface area that will extend from Highcrest School essentially to the middle of that part of the park. Next diagram shows the Cottonwood. This is another look in the upper left-hand corner of the placement of the tank in its current configuration or proposal. You can see right in the middle of that are 31 cottonwood trees, the Cottonwood Grove. Many emails have been generated in recent days. You may have received some of them, and the Park District, I'm sure, has received quite a few that have supported the preservation of the grove, if at all possible. There are certainly pros and cons to cottonwoods in terms of shade, aesthetics, wildlife, many different things. You know that. But almost everyone agrees that the grove should be preserved if possible. The trees are about 100 years old, they are historic, and they will not be able to be replaced in our lifetimes. If you look at the next slide, for a price tag of $55 million plus, we can come up with a plan that will improve stormwater drainage and preserve or improve our prairies and tree groves. As you know, because of the prairie, the community playfield site was just recently chosen over the Centennial site. A previous Burke plan, as you see here on this page, did include already an underground reservoir in the open space at community playfield, so this is certainly feasible. Finally, just the last 2 slides, our local residents' proposal to be considered and looked at, and we have actually had 2 or 3 days to do this because this is when this map was just been available publicly. We call it the green proposal, means saving the cottonwood grove. The cons are that there could possibly be an increased pipe expense. There could possibly be a decrease in accessibility. The Burke plan already thought of this sort of location, though, so I doubt that. It would be preferable to initiate construction after soccer season, of course, because this would involve a soccer field or the soccer field area. And the environmental impact would still not be known as far as a very large impermeable reservoir being underground and the effect that it would have on the water flow. So that's a con of wherever these tanks are. We don't exactly know all that. Finally, there are pros. If you consider a tank in this location, there would be an opportunity to improve the soccer fields because the drainage is needed. It would save tree removal expense. It would save space that is already open. It would save the cottonwood grove, which is enjoyed by many, many people, as you know. And there could be easy expansion into an additional open space if needed in the future, for instance, across the pathway. So thank you. This is kind of last minute because we found out about this last minute, but I think it should be considered, and hopefully you'll receive additional emails about it. And hopefully this will be submitting it for consideration by distributing it to you. And I can email it to you as well. So
Yeah, and
thank you.
from a process point of view, you know, as you know, we're just underway with the process via the Park District. And, you know, if my understanding is correct, I mean, groundbreaking on this is more than 14 months away. So we're not talking about something that is imminent. And your comments are noted. They were noted when they were sent to the board, and the response we're getting from other folks as well. And it'll be part of the deliberations, which, as you mentioned, include pros and cons, including, you know, what's the cost of moving things, where do pipes go, where do storage facilities go. So we appreciate the input. That was the whole point of the process, was to solicit community input, and, you know, more to come.
Okay,
So,
more to
okay.
come. Thank you very much.
All right, thank you. Oh, I didn't realize, I gave him way more time than.
Well,
the 3 minutes.
I won't be more than
Minutes.
pardon?
I understand. So, sir, if you're
My
going to
name is Rick Prohov. For the record, it's 2435 Pomona Lane, and I too am here to talk about the drainage things for a very brief time.
Okay.
As Mr. Engelhardt pointed out, the neighbors around the park, at least on our block, were not fully aware, maybe we should have been, but in the middle of winter, when you make a proposal in February to change the prior plan and announce that many people are out of town, whatever. I understand this is the beginning of the process, but we've been trying to bring up speed. Unfortunately, many of you have become drainage experts by now with 5 years of the making. We are only beginning to see what's online. Steve Wilson, I talked to yesterday, your design engineer at Burke, I talked today, and started reading the materials. And I won't take much time other than to point out on page 1.5 of the Stantec report from 2017, it talks about the project risks. What are the biggest risks in such a project? And I was a little shocked and amazed to hear it was a 2.2 acre, 10-foot hole to be filled with an 18.5 acre foot storage capacity. That's huge, huge. So forgive us, but we're beginning to assess the extent of the problem that you guys have looked at for 5 years and really begin to understand the capacity problems that you have faced and what to do with all this water. In that section, though, it talks about subsurface conditions represent a significant source of risk for these types of alternatives. So I just wanted to relate one short story. The last time I appeared from the board was 20 years ago for the village rather than the park board regarding flooding. In fact, it was the construction of Mr. Engelhardt's home. George, you may have been on the board back then when on Pomona Lane, the permit was issued by the village. They tapped into the lower water table unknowingly. They maybe should have known. And it flooded the entire Pomona Street down around the cul-de-sac and out into the park for weeks. The village had to come up with another engineering solution for the problem. Fortunately, Locust pipes were being installed at the time. They ripped up our street, put in a new sewer system at over $100,000, sloped down to Locust to take up what had been a tap that would not discerned by the engineers at over a cost of $100,000. So to the extent that was one small home in the same upstream area, I trust Burke has analyzed or will be analyzing what would be a major, major alteration of the natural drainage patterns perhaps in the area. My understanding is that the capacity of the tank, and this is not clear to me, this is my last question, I'm sure we'll get answers over time, maybe you don't have them either, is the tank proposed as a neighborhood storage under the park to receive stormwater as the detention matter to be pumped out, or is it a retention and to be released? Will it accept the normal drainal course of things from the subsurface and overground surface that go to the park today? Or will that still be maintained naturally somehow? So these are all questions that I'm not expecting of any answers.
Right, our engineer was here at the beginning of the meeting.
Well, I'm sorry
so-
we didn't know. We were kind of led to believe the comments were at the end, but that's the park board, not the village board, apparently.
Yes,
So thank you for the time. I'm sure you'll be cautious as you move forward. And yeah, I'm one of the guys for the trees, and you will have received my email. Probably also didn't have time to read it today. So I look forward to seeing you again one day. So thank you for consideration, and I do appreciate you adjourning the meeting. So thanks again.
Okay.
Take care.
You're welcome. Okay.
So the board knows, whatever comments we've received this week, including the PowerPoint by email, will be circulating to you as we have in the past. We'll put it all together and circulate it to the board later this week.
Have we ever reopened a meeting before?
Not to my recollection. I could be wrong.
I've not while I've been on the board.
Should we have a seventh open house or something?
Can I think, I hear your concern, Trustee Kurzman, and I realize that. I do think in fairness to the public, it is confusing that the Park District has public comment at a different time. I know also when even in some of our committee meetings, public comment is at the end of the discussion. So I understand and appreciate the concern. I want to acknowledge that if you're not a resident who's constantly attending these meetings and here, that it can be confusing for them. And so I appreciate your frustration. I just wanted to acknowledge that. And maybe that's something we address more broadly is, the park board and the library board or the boards that our residents potentially could be speaking in front of, that there's some consistency. I think that would help the residents.
Consistency.
Look,
There have been 11 years of meetings on this, and I've sat in those seats and wanted to get that mic, and I wait for the appropriate time and juncture to do it.
Your point's noted. All right, motion to adjourn?
So moved.
Is there a second?
Second.
All those in favor say aye.
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 Any opposed? We stand adjourned for sure now.